It is a tenet of my faith that the Constitution is divinely inspired of my most basic foundational beliefs. And so for me to do that because somebody just asked me to is foreign to my very being. I will not do it.
That is what I call guts. The willingness to lay it out there at the risk of political suicide to do the right thing. Joining us tonight are former Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who was shown the door by his own party for standing up and telling the truth. He was given the JFK well-deserved Profile and Courage Award for that moment, which is given to public officials who defend and protect democracy. And also former longtime Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon. Good to see both of you.
Good to be here.
It's good to be here.
We're talking about statesmanship and civility on the doorstep of our next election. Do you think that those are qualities of a bygone era, Rusty?
Oh, no. I mean, there are ebbs and flows in everything, but the recovery is not as pronounced as these things ebb and flow. So I understand the concern, but it just takes people to decide. I will not vote for somebody who's a jerk. You know.
It's a simple concept, Matt, but it isn't always followed.
I kind of have a no jackass policy, too, on the vote thing. But you know what? I'm with Rusty. I refuse to look down at the ground and give up. I think that, you know, America has seen some really tough days before. And I think that we're capable of great things. But we need some leaders that are going to call up and call things the way they are, speak truth to power. And that hasn't been happening a lot in today's political scene, but I'm hopeful that it will.
But here's, if you asked me today to identify those who would have the guts to do that, who would you name that could really affect meaningful change?
That's actually in office?
Yeah.
That's an unfair question.
But really, when you think about it, and I, by the way, I agree with you, but who has the guts to do that?
I've been very, very disappointed in a lot of my former colleagues back there in the U.S. House, because I know, because I've spoken to them, many of them are not happy at all with the way political discourse is going right now, and yet they're sitting on their hands, and that's not the way to be. In fact, you know, if Abraham Lincoln had done a poll, how many of you are willing to risk a war where father will fight against son and brother against brother to free the slaves? The poll would have probably come back 6% of America supports that. But Abraham Lincoln stood on solid ground and fought for what he knew was right. We've got to get back to the days where real statesmen, people that are going to put country over party, and they're going to stand up and fight for what's right. We've got to expect that.
Rusty, we hear the term a lot lately, words matter. But when you hear politicians using words like loser and calling immigrants animals and saying that some immigrants are eating dogs and cats, should politicians, do you think, be held to a higher standard when it comes to that kind of thing and spreading rumors?
Well, words do matter. And unfortunately, I guess it's unfortunate that dueling is illegal. But
it's a different kind of duel.
Yeah.
It does demonstrate a fear, an intimidation factor that should be called out. It's once you've been through the fire, though, Mark.
And you have,
by the
way.
It isn't. You look back and you think, I just did what I was supposed to. I did what people would expect me to. And I think that there would be a hefty number of Americans who would say, the guy needs, we want him back. And whether that happens to Matt or I or whomever. I mean, Mitt has certainly been around, and others. But it's not bygone if we expect more. You expect more through your vote. If people want me to vote for them, And if there's enough people like me that they want or they need, then they need to look at themselves and say, we're going to make a change.
In this day and age, with everyone wants to blame the media, okay, which I think is unfair because media takes on all kinds of forms. But when it comes to social media, when you can spread anything and say anything you want,
And not even have to be responsible.
not have to be responsible for
Right.
it, and the more outrageous it is and the more viral it is and the more clicks you get, the more you're seen, that can be a positive thing and advantageous to a politician, even if it's seen to be uncivil.
So Mark, I had an opportunity to serve in the U.S. House during the 90s, during the contract with America, and then I came back 12 years later. It was like a different planet.
Yeah.
And I really believe that it was because of social media. When you got trolls out there and people that don't even use their real name to come after you and attack you on grounds that you never would have even imagined before, it's changed the way things are done. When I came back, so I left the first time because I took a term limit pledge, and I served 6 years, I left. The second time that I ran, 12 years later, I didn't take a term limit pledge, and I intended to stay there for many, many years. After 2 terms, I couldn't take it anymore because the civility was completely gone. There was no bipartisanship whatsoever. I mean, when I was there during the contract with America, we balanced the budget 4 years in a row in a bipartisan, a Democrat president, Bill Clinton, a Republican House and Senate. We balanced the budget 4 years in a row. That hasn't been done ever in the last 100 years. That's a once in a lifetime thing. And we got a lot of good things accomplished, but there was a lot of bipartisanship. Now, I remember when Lindsey Graham gave a hug to Dianne Feinstein on the floor, and both of them caught all kinds of grief on social media. Yeah. And that kind of stuff didn't happen back in the 90s.
I'm getting a wrap it up from our producers, but I wanted to ask you before you go, is the truth still important?
It is to a lot of people. It is to me.
It is to me.
And I think there are a lot of people for whom it is important. Some of them lost in this last go-round. People of great reputation in our own state. And it can happen in our own state where we can balance a budget because we had to do that.
Yeah, well, you told the truth and you were primaried out for telling the truth.
That's okay.
Yeah, at least you can live with yourself and look at yourself.
But being able to look yourself in the mirror is better than being reelected, isn't it, Rusty?
I think
when you don't
so.
have hair, you don't worry about
I'd like to think so. Thank you both for coming down.
You
I
bet.
think I wish we had more time because this is such an important conversation to have.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, very much.